Okay.
Got it.
All right. So, welcome to our new podcast. So, now we've added Mark and Coleman. And today we're going to talk about MVP, what MVP is, and how everything started.
For sure, though. Before we get started, it's Sunday, guys. How was your Sunday so far?
I ran around all morning. I was an hour late to my meal.
I was sidekick.
and
Like,
I had to buy new yogurt because the yogurt I had was a month expired because I didn't read the label. It didn't bother me.
It's extra probiotics, right?
Right.
Dude, stomach of steel. I'm telling you, stomach of steel. Immune system, terrible. Stomach, steel.
Manifesting.
Manifesting
The diarrhea later.
Nah, it hasn't. Mark, you saw how much I've eaten after like shows. Nothing happens.
Yeah.
Eating a lot of junk food and having something past expiration, the two different things. I will give you. You can eat a lot of food in a sitting. I don't know if you can fight food bacteria. I don't know.
A whole.
I mean, I have been doing it for the past 2 weeks, and it hasn't affected me once. Actually, the past 5 days, rather. Yeah, 5 days.
He's making his own fermented food now.
Pretty much.
There we go.
Love it. But yeah, to get into MVP is. So MVP is in essence the coaching company that I ended up creating. And it goes back to like so I started competing when I was 19 years old. So I did my first show. So it's going back like 11 years now. Holy fucking shit. I'm going back 11 years now. And like when I initially kind of got into coaching, like there wasn't, or got into the sport, because I didn't start lifting to start coaching people. I started lifting because it was an outlet for me. And I didn't know what to do from an athletic perspective after high school, because like I went to a community college. I wrestled and played lacrosse. Those things weren't offered at a community college. And granted, like I wasn't that good at them. That could have played at like a high level anyway. So I was like, what the fuck do I do with all this extra energy, right? But to give a long story short, MVP is a coaching company not only to kind of help people, obviously bring the best package to the stage, but like anyone who's in essence trying to go to from who they are to the person who they wish to be, right? Because like transformation is not just always physical. Transformation can sometimes be emotional as well as mindset driven, right? And I've seen that from clients who are terrified to go into a gym because they thought it was an intimidating place. And now they're in love with it and something that's just part of their daily routine. So that's why I kind of like to say, like, it's not just the physical transformation that we do over here. It's a lot of the mindset work as well, because the body will follow wherever the mind tells it to go.
My favorite quotes. Literally my favorite quote.
But yeah, and in summary, that's what MVP is. It's a transformation company. I don't like to say we're just coaching, because we've seen a lot of our clients just transform.
Yeah, I would definitely not say we're just coaches.
Definitely.
I think that'd be like a pretty big, it'd be a pretty big understatement.
Yeah. I mean, we were kind of talking about it today. There's so much more that comes along with just bodybuilding or lifestyle coaching. You're also kind of mentoring, and you're a friend, and you're just involved.
You're a guide.
In that person's life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just guiding them through life, like with the simplest of tasks.
Yeah.
Which seem to be the most daunting of things, but like it ends up being like once they figure it out, like it becomes so monumentally like simple that they don't even think about it after. But it's the fear of getting over it first.
Yeah, because like from a grand scheme of things, if you're someone who's not exposed to this stuff at all, you're kind of bombarded with a bunch of misinformation, and you know some of it's misinformation because you've seen fads come and go. You possibly have practiced or done some fad diets on your own. You possibly have done some fad workout things on your own, and they kind of know that like there's a lot of things that don't work. So they're kind of hesitant to figure out like what's the right route to go, and it kind of gives them an ingrained fear to get started. Yeah. And that's where like us come into play, because we can validate what other crack things to do. And after they see that, oh, this really isn't as hard as people make it seem. Obviously, from a competition perspective, it's obviously much more difficult, but just fitness in
Yeah.
general, when they kind of start hitting their stride, like, oh wow, I don't have to restrict food this much, or I can really kind of like eat, I don't have to eat like a bird to make progress, and all of these limiting beliefs people kind of have, and when they see them kind of fall to the wayside, they'll like, oh wow, I can make progress, kind of living somewhat normal.
Yeah, and we were talking about that
100%.
yesterday when we were talking about pasta and how people were so shocked that
Love
like
pasta.
that other athletes are having pasta with their meals, and it's like you don't really have to be that restrictive.
You can diet on pasta.
Yeah, and that's the thing is that like again, there's a lot of limiting beliefs, and it's just because like people get paint things with very broad strokes, and like I'll give an example. If I had someone who had blood sugar issues, yeah, I'm not giving him gluten-free pasta because it wouldn't make sense, right? But if I have someone who's already eating like 600 plus carbs a day and they're having struggling getting carbs down or getting meals down, like yeah, I'll move to a more calorically dense option that's going to be derived from the same generic sources anyway. If I'm using gluten free, it's still potato and it's still rice starch and in some cases a little bit of tapioca starch, but in reality, it's not that much different. So it shouldn't impact the physique that much. If anything, it's be you're better
An
adherent to
aid.
the program now, right? Like that's the end of the day, like the best meal plan is the best plan that someone can follow. And if they're missing meals because 450 grams of rice is inconvenient every day, well, moving to something that's more like realistic, like 2 cups of cooked pasta, may be the better route for that person.
So to stay on topic, so I want to. I know you talked about a little bit about where you were prior, but
Mhm.
so where you were prior, and then how you got to this point where MVP is now.
Yeah, so I'll go more into where I was prior. So like I started lifting or started competing when I was 19 years old. Did my first show then, and going back then, like there wasn't social media, there wasn't Instagram, like Facebook was just became a thing my senior year of high school. So like I didn't know anyone who bodybuilded. I didn't know a single person that did it. Like I went to a small little hole in the wall gym in Trenton called Man's World. And it was owned by this 70s bodybuilder named Joe Dodd, who eventually passed away from prostate cancer, but it was just a bodybuilding gym. Everyone there was openly using PEDs, mostly all cases wrong usage, but neither here nor there. But after going there, one of the older guys said, "Hey, if you're just working to work out, like why don't you try like competing or something?" And I was like, "Okay, I guess I'll give it a shot." And again, going back to this is 2009. 2009, I had no idea where to get dietary information from or how to contest prep. So I watched Branch Warren's prep for nationals.
Oh
Um,
my
and
god.
this was his prep when he talked about how he ate nothing but canned tuna for every single meal because he was a broke kid, and that's how he afforded contest prep. And I was a freshman in college. Um, I worked part time at a GNC. And so in essence, all my money went to my fucking contest prep, and I ate canned tuna for 7 meals a day. And it was the most disgusting thing in the
Ouch.
world. And to this day, I still can't eat canned tuna, but I didn't know where to start. Right? I had no idea. I had no insight. But my first contest, I yeah, canned tuna 7 times a day, to the point that like I was so grossed out by it, I was heating it up in a frying pan and mixing mustard with it to try to just cover up the taste of it. You
That
can
is
imagine.
disgusting.
You can imagine how bad it smelled. My
I
house smelled so bad. My mother was
I
furious.
was gonna say
Oh
your
my
mom
god!
definitely was pissed.
was it at least sweet and spicy mustard?
I don't think it
I
existed
don't
yet,
even
man.
think
I
I
was
had
using
that
like
then.
brown, just spicy
Oh,
mustard.
just straight brown mustard. Oh.
Yes.
Last time
And
I had
also,
that was when I landed in Texas and I had nothing.
hmm
Nothing on me, and you told me that I had to check in a bathroom.
yep.
And you're like, yeah, you need to get into a sauna now. No condiments. And I was like, well, I just use mustard.
It happens, man. It happens. But yeah, in
And
hindsight, that's probably why my girlfriend at the time cheated on me. I probably smelled so bad that that was the first option.
Like canned tuna.
that's terrible. That is
Hindsight, that's
so
probably what it
bad.
was. if I didn't smell like tuna, she wouldn't have fucked her balls. But that being said, so like obviously I did my first show. I looked like dog shit. I had no idea what I was doing. And then, but directly after that, I kind of fell in love with it because I was in school at the time studying to be a physical therapist assistant. And everything I kept linking back to bodybuilding, and it kind of like got me involved, got me going down these rabbit holes, and I'm like, all right, I need to find out the why of everything. And this is kind of why I got like really engrossed with just learning the mechanism of everything, because people obviously keep regurgitating shit they've heard people say, but most people can't tell you the method of action of why anything actually does anything. And that's why I wanted to know. It's because like, okay, like cool, like this does this, but why? Why the fuck does this do this? I think after you figure that out, you can have the ability to reverse engineer any problem that you're going to kind of encounter. So throughout my college years, I coached a bunch of people for free because they're my guinea pigs. Because I didn't want to charge money to tell someone what to do and what not to do if I didn't exactly know what to do either. And one of the first people I ended up helping out was actually for the first prep was my best friend Bruce. Bruce is one of my first guinea pigs for an actual contest prep. And the best thing about this was like he was just some kid who we hired at GNC, and he actually prepped his meals. No kid we ever hired at GNC ever prepped their meals. And I was like, okay, this guy actually prepped his meals. He kind of like he may actually like fit in here. And after seeing him like eat nothing but chicken and broccoli for 2 weeks, I'm like, do you not eat carbs, man? And he was like, oh, I'm trying to lose weight. I'm like, all right, here's your meal plan. Yeah, I'm like, I wrote my meal plan there on the spot. I'm like, this is your new meal plan. This is what we're gonna start following. And after seeing him actually bringing the meals that I told him to eat to work for a couple weeks, I was like, okay, like this kid's kind of disciplined. I can coach this kid. And that's kind of how I kind of got into actively coaching competitors. And for several years following that, because I was 23 when I met Bruce, 22 when I met Bruce. Bruce just turned like 19. He just started college. And he was, again, my first guinea pig. And then kind of after him, I just kept picking up kids who I was in school with or the gyms I was going to, who I didn't charge to do anything. And just like, hey, like, you want to do this? Cool. Like, I have a little bit of insight. I can help you. And it kind of led to me continuously coaching them. That's kind of how I started with the contest prep side of things. But to fast forward a few years, I continue to keep coaching people, coach a bunch of Gen Pop people. And I eventually moved to Florida. I worked for Nutrix Research. And when I was down there, I did inside sales, but also helped them with the formulation of some of the products. So like the Lipo 6 gel was one of the things that I helped formulate over there, which fun story. When we were formulating that product, we put so much capsicum cayenne pepper extract in it that when we first were beta testing it, we would throw up because you rubbing it on your skin, your body would absorb it so much that you start salivating uncontrollably, and to the point that you would throw up. So you can imagine the first day, everyone in the office is running to the bathroom to go vomit. It was not
a good sight. Not a good sight.
But after I came back from that, came back from Florida, moved back to Jersey. I reconnected with my good friend Neil, who I own Evolve Air with. But what we were doing with Evolve Air, because one of the big concepts we have over there is we're a transformation company over there as well, bringing a person from who they wish to be. From bringing a person to who they are to who they wish to be, in the quickest, most effective way. So we created this really high-end coaching program that was specifically made to help people who were kind of like out of shape, sick, had medical issues, and kind of bridge the gap to make them turn into the person who maybe they want to be, their family wants them to be, the businessman they want to be. So it was a lot of mindset coaching. And with these people, we, in essence, like had a weekly phone call with them. We scaled the business to be so big that I actually had to hire Nick Skopas, Bruce Brower, and Tom to all come work for me, because like we were getting up to 200 plus clients that were all involved in these programs. And after doing that for about 3 years, I was like, you know what, like I've been working with Gen Pop people for so long, maybe I kind of want to get back to my roots, because I kind of got burnt out. Because you can imagine 100 plus people a week getting 30-minute phone calls. It's a lot of bandwidth and
a lot of time.
It's a lot of time. And like someone like myself, like I kind of get very emotionally involved with our clients. And when you have when you have that many clients, and honestly, this is the one thing I've noticed, when you have a higher ticket coaching item, you have two types of clients. You have ones that pay for it specifically because they have the means to pay for it, and they want someone just to talk to. They're not going to take the program serious because that $400 a month, that $500 a month is nothing to them. And those are the people who, again, I'm happy that they obviously paid my bills, right? But like, those are the people that drained the life out of me, because every week I was trying to encourage them to do the right things. I would tweak things to make things simpler for them, but they didn't really care making progress. They just kind of wanted the status symbol thing they had a coach, or they just wanted someone to vent to for 30 minutes each week. So that kind of made it no longer fun for me. So me and Neil eventually sunset that coaching program. And I kind of just went back to working with people I enjoy. That's why I just kept a small group of people until I guess I kind of ran into you, Coleman,
Yeah,
Ryan, you, and I guess I
that
have to thank.
was yeah, that was 2021.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think
yeah,
yeah, because I was friends with Ryan. Ryan was working with you, and I remember I was doing it myself, completely incorrect. Like I had been doing it, and like it actually, how I started bodybuilding actually started off as like a bet against one of my friends. He was like, "You'll never be able to do it." He's a power lifter, and I was like, "I guarantee you, I can do it." I was like, "I know I can do this. Like it's way easier than you think." Because I had already followed a meal plan since the time I was in high school. From like the time I was like 15 until even in college. In college, I ate the same thing every day. It was always chicken, rice, and broccoli. Even though broccoli is terrible for you. I don't know why. It was just
it's staple.
the
Everyone's like
simplest
chicken
thing.
and broccoli, chicken
Yeah,
and broccoli.
exactly. When you're 15 and you see someone, you see a bodybuilder in the gym eating that. I think I'm trying to remember the first person I saw in the gym. Golds and Howell. I think it was Jay Amato, he worked with Dan Houghton back then.
Mm.
And I remember seeing him in the gym. And then after there, I switched from there. I went to Jersey Shore Fitness, and I would religiously train from midnight to 2 a.m. when I was able to drive. So as soon as I was able to drive, I would train at that time. And that was because that was like anyone who was like kind of like a little freaky was there at that time. It was just like nighttime bodybuilders.
Yeah,
And that's how I got like hooked on it. I just remember seeing Jay like going through a prep, and like I had no idea what he was doing. Not a clue in the world, but he just looked freakier every single day. And then
yeah, I can imagine.
I got hooked on it. And then I was like contemplated it for like years doing it. And then I was like, I ended up getting hurt. I played college lacrosse, tore both my ACLs. End of that, tore my entire shoulder out. That was the last straw. As soon as I tore my shoulder out, I was done. I was like, I gotta find something else to do. And then the gym was always there, and I loved the gym from the time I was 12, and that's when I got my first gym membership when I was 12. I was small, and I just wanted to get bigger
Hmm.
because I was short. That was it. I was just short. I
Yeah.
didn't hit my growth spurt until like, and then I hit my growth spurt like when I was in high school, and then I
Hmm.
haven't grown since. I hit 5'9.5" and maxed out. I hit 5'9.5" like my sophomore year of high school, maxed out right there, and I was like, well, I'm kind of beat now. I stunted my growth. That was my issue from
Guy, why
squat.
do you get taller, right?
Oh yeah, I'd rather be wider and shorter.
Yeah,
Bodybuilding's a short man sport.
it is. It is for sure.
It works. Um, yeah, and then
And that's the
so
nugget.
yeah, so I was training, and then Ryan mentioned your name once, and then I think I sent you a message, and
Hmm.
I think it was like the next morning. You were like, "What time are you gonna be at the gym?" And I was like, "I normally go and do cardio at this time in the morning." And it was like 7 a.m. in the morning or something
Hmm.
like that. And we met in the gym, and I was like, "I don't train this early." I was like, "But I guess I'll train." Like, didn't eat anything yet. Like,
Hmm.
and it was like just one training session, and then I think like 2 days later, I started working with you.
Yeah. Hmm. But yeah, no, it was because like I wasn't planning on getting really deep into coaching. I was planning on keeping my roster small because I was kind of burnt out from having that long list of Gen Pop clients that were high ticket. Especially because like I always tell people, like you need two businesses, one or two jobs, right? One to fill your soul, one to fill your pocket. And like I have my other endeavors that I focus on filling my pocket, so to speak. So I was like, do I really need to like put this much effort in the coaching, right? Especially because like it's something I love doing, and just that I didn't want it to feel like work again. Because like I used to sometimes dread hopping on the phone call with some of these people that I work with. I'm like, oh fuck, I have 10 hours of phone calls today, and 5 of them I don't want to fucking talk to. But it's because like it was the same excuses every single week of why I didn't do certain things, and it was the same things, like complaining of why am I not making enough progress. Well, you missed 5 meals again this week, or you only went to the gym twice compared to 4 times, or so on and so forth. So actually running into you and Ryan kind of made me like, okay, like yeah, I still love coaching. Like it's something I still generally enjoy doing. Outside of like the small group of people who I kept. Because I just kept the clients who I enjoyed, and anyone I didn't really enjoy, I kind of told them to go kick rocks. Um, but I would like to say like obviously like prepping Ryan. Honestly, like prepping Ava too. You convinced me to take Ava on to
That's
do was kind of
yeah. I was gonna get there.
yeah, it was the
I was
kind of the
waiting to
thing
get there.
that re-sparked everything. Because I was like, okay, like yeah, I'm still fucking good at what I do. So I guess let me put more effort into this because like I do generally enjoy doing it.
That's technically that's my first paid client
Yeah.
ever. Yeah, because before that, I think I bugged you for like 2 months,
Mm-hmm.
and then I was like, you know what? Like, I kind of been doing it on my own. I kind of been like using what you were teaching me, and like just kind of like listening to what her coach was saying, and like I was like, this makes no sense, and like I was like, why are you doing this? Like, even like I knew it didn't make sense, and but I couldn't figure out why. Because
Mm-hmm.
before that, you had me. I think we had one lifestyle. We had a lifestyle girl,
Yes,
and
sir.
you're like, I
Yep.
want you to, yeah, Sarah, and you were like, I want you to sit in on this and like learn. And I was like, okay, like this is what I want to do. Like I love doing it. So learning from there and then seeing the difference between a lifestyle person and contest prep, totally different ball game. Like, and I don't know, I just loved it. But it was like trying to figure out what the issue was, and like then it was just like bugging you for like weeks. I
Mm-hmm.
think I drove to the store probably at least 2 or 3 times a week. This is before I worked for Aries. Like I was just your client.
Exactly.
And I was
No,
like, and I was
I
like,
think remember that.
Mark, I remember I was like, this is a good idea.
Yep.
I was like, sometimes you gotta trust your gut. And I'll thank Ava to this day for getting me involved in coaching. That's the reason why I coach.
Well, yeah, no, it was. I distinctly remember.
It was her begging me for 8 weeks straight while she was in the beginning of her prep to have me do it. And I was like, I'm not confident enough in myself to do it. And then it was, I was like, let me like mentor. I want to get mentored.
Yeah. No, I distinctly remember it was you and Dylan stopped by Aries. Um, and I think you were messaging Ava back and forth, and
Mm-hmm.
she said something to you, and you're like Mark, like I really think you should help her out, and I was like, fine, we'll do it. Because like my biggest
This
thing
is
was
like weeks.
yeah, my biggest thing was this: I never wanted to be that guy that takes over someone's prep because like number one, like I don't know what the coach is doing. Then like it's two sides of every story. So
Mhm.
like what the client says, what the coach says. But this person, Ava, was very persistent that she needed something different than what she was having, and I didn't want to leave someone stranded 8 weeks out from a show.
Yeah.
Um, so we took it.
That was my thing. I was like, I felt so guilty. I was like, I don't have enough knowledge to do this, but I know who has the knowledge to do this. And I told her multiple times, I was like, I'm gonna try and convince him as much as I can. I was like, but I can't guarantee anything. I was like, if you really don't like your coach and you really don't like the way things are going, like try and find someone. Like you have to find someone that you like or push back the show.
Mhm.
Like that's the best options you can do. But she was very persistent on the timeline and stuff like that. And as everyone is, I mean, I was pretty persistent on mine the first time and until we had the yeah.
Yep.
happens. But yeah,
no, it
you
was
live and learn.
exactly. You live and learn, and at the end of the day, we took over Ava's prep. 8 weeks later, she
Yeah,
won.
8 weeks. Yeah, and I remember you distinctly saying, you're like, I don't think we can pull this off in 8 weeks, and I was like, no, we definitely can.
Well,
I was
my
like,
thing is this, man.
you also
If
didn't know
I
how
ever
tall she was.
if I ever 8 week prep anyone in my life, I'm never gonna be like, yo, I think you're gonna win a show. Like,
Right.
No,
I'm not that optimistic with anything. I'm a realist, right? So like,
especially a
uh,
Texas show.
yeah, it's not like you're doing like
It was
the
not just a
SpongeBob.
walk in a park show, not a small
Yeah,
show.
it wasn't the SpongeBob classic. It wasn't like a random like OCB show in the middle of Kansas. It was a legitimate Texas show. So again, like,
Literally in the heart of Dallas. Yeah.
I didn't expect her to walk on and win, but hey, it happened. Hard worked in our favor. She had the presentation and it worked. But
Yeah.
that kind of got me right back into the reins of okay, I guess I'm coaching competitors again because like if I can actually help people and obviously get them to their goal, let me keep doing it, and I'll just be selective with who I work with. So if I don't like them, I'm not going to work with them. So I'm going to make sure that each person that I work with, I have a Zoom meeting with, and for some reason, if I don't feel like their personality matches with mine, I just won't happen to work with them because that was a beautiful thing. Like this not being my main source of income by any means, that like I could be selective and I could just say no to people who I don't want to work with, which was the beautiful thing about that compared to having a mostly coaching based business as before.
Yeah.
I agree because then like your clients are a representation of you and your work. And even though like they have to go in and put in that work, but it's also yours as well. So
Exactly.
Everything you do, you put your name on.
Yeah.
No matter what happens. It doesn't matter if you worked with them for 2 weeks or you worked with them for 2 years. Your name's always going to be associated with it.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I've looked at it.
So Mark, did you experience any setbacks or anything specific during that time frame, or was it kind of
So like, yeah, no, I'd have to say like kind of because like over my coaching, and again like I didn't charge anyone for coaching until I was 28 years old,
Mhm.
pretty much. So up until then, everyone was free. Um, and it was just because like I never felt like I knew enough, and like
Right.
it's something like I always say like I deal with is like imposter syndrome, because like I always feel like I have to know as much as the best at the end of the day, and it's always like it's the fear of not knowing what you don't know.
Mhm.
But like at the end of the day, that's just being really honest with yourself about like what your true scope of practice is and where your skill levels actually do lie.
Right.
But that was something I battled with for so long. And honestly, the my business partner Neil was the one that kind of dug me out of that hole. He's like, Mark, you're literally getting people like you having people who are type 1 diabetic like waking up with fasted glucose like in the low hundreds, and you're getting people off like blood pressure medication, you're fixing their cholesterol, you're getting people off metformin, you're fixing women who have Hashimoto's, you're people who can't get pregnant, you're fixing their fertility, like you're doing all these things and you don't think you can coach people, like what the fuck, Mark? And I was like, well, like I can't do this, I can't do that. He's like, so don't fucking work with those people, Mark. Like Jesus Christ, like you don't have to be able to fix everyone.
Mhm.
um you just fix people within your scope of practice. And I was like, I guess you're right. But yeah, no, I suffered with really bad imposter syndrome, so I didn't double down on what I'm good at for a very, very long time. And that was my biggest setback, is honestly just not believing myself.
Right. And like part of this field and what's so cool about it is that you're constantly learning. There's always something new and there's always someone you can learn from and nobody knows everything.
Yeah.
So,
And like the beautiful thing about that is like then you touched on that is like I'll use like John Jewett for example,
mhm.
right? Like people like John Jewett with a more science based approach are kind of like shaking up the industry a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Because you know a lot of people thought they knew how certain things worked, and then you have again like science based, research based, like facts. They're like, no, I'm sorry, but it doesn't actually work this way.
Mhm.
Which is gives people like two things. It gives them the ability to adapt and change with new information, or it gives them the ability to kind of be a stick in the mud and kind of fall to the wayside.
Yeah. So, who do you look up to? Are there a group of people or kind of just one person that you look up to in the industry?
So like I wouldn't say I would say like look up to someone. I would say like I idolize the amount of like skill that you have. Like for example, like I watch all of John Jewett stuff. I'm a big fan of the J3 Academy. Uh, one of my good friends, Joseph Pincher, works with John, which I'm extremely envious of. Um, Whenever I pick his brain, it's cool getting like kind of like trickle down information because obviously he's coached by John, so it good kind of goes from him to him, which is I always find like really insightful and cool to see. But I even from that perspective, like even my coaching perspective, like my good buddy like Ross Flanagan, like he's someone who I kind of idolize. Like me and him have been friends for about like 4 or 5 years now, and I've been friends with him since before he sold the sauces. Like before the sauces were sauces, I remember getting them to my house with in unlabeled little fucking bottles. This is like
That's awesome.
the first one I got from him was the Dill Ranch. This is again
Oh, the one he just made?
yeah. So like I've had that for like 5 years ago. The first time I got it.
That's
And
awesome.
Crazy.
I don't think it's this big tube of white. I'm being like, what the fuck is this? And because like there's no labels on it. He's like, oh, it's ranch, and it was the most delicious thing at the time ever had. But like again, like he's someone who I've seen how he does his coaching with clients, and some of the things that he actually does with his clients, I've borrowed from him and used with ourselves as ways to again, I think, continue to track progress and keep people moving in the correct direction. And just obviously seeing like how people can build something from literally nothing.
Right. So what would you say is your why with coaching?
So like this is the thing.
It's a lot.
Yeah, no, it's a lot. It's because like again, going back to like you need something to fill your soul, and this can go back from like back to like lifestyle coaching, can obviously go to competition coaching as well. But seeing someone mentally transform is so rewarding for me. So like I love using my client Patrick Cross as this example. And Coleman, you've
Yep.
seen tons of things of Patrick.
Yep. I've seen so many things of Patrick. It's the coolest thing ever.
Patrick is by far my best success story I've ever had. I've been with Patrick for it was going this is his third year now, going into it. When I got Patrick, Patrick was type 2 diabetic, about 245 pounds. I mean, this guy never stepped in foot into a gym. He was too intimidated to. He hired me at the peak of pandemic because he wanted to get in the shape. And his version of shape was much different than his version of shape now. And from being terrified of going to a gym, now we're talking about possibly doing his first bodybuilding show at 56 years old. And we went from being someone whose blood sugar every morning was like 190 to his blood sugar being like literally like 81 in the morning now. Like we went from someone that had a 42-inch waist to someone that has a 31-inch waist. Like he walks around like a couple weeks out from a show now every day, and it's such a cool like feeling seeing someone that was literally felt helpless, that had low self-esteem, that wasn't confident in the work, wasn't confident in the social life, being someone now that literally loves going to the gym, it's a part of his day, he's more confident in his social life, he feels better about himself, he wears clothes that he wished he could wear, like he's a whole different person. And not only that, but like he's off like almost all his medication. Besides, he's a little bit of Lantus, 12 IU's a day, because again, he still is diabetic. But that's it. And doing stuff like that, I'm sure he has years added to his life now compared to what he was doing before. His blood sugar went every single day. So there's a physical change of how he looks. There's a mental change to how he now acts and feels. And from a longevity standpoint, he has some more years on the planet now due to the lifestyle change. So like that's it. Like it's seeing someone transform in all ways. Like I love someone winning shows. I love watching someone like transform and fall in love with the process. But it's the whole entire transformation that I find the most enjoyable part of the process.
Yeah, that's a fun
I
part
definitely would
as a
agree with you on that.
competitor too. And like you aligning with that is really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with you on that. I think it's more for me, it's definitely the being able to help somebody.
Mm-hmm.
That's always been something I've always wanted to do. Don't know why. I've always been like, for any of my friends, I've always dropped whatever I was doing to go and do whatever they needed. I don't know. Just kind of like one of those, like, I don't know. I think I was listening to Nick Comedina talk with Justin Mahaly the other day, and he talked about serving people, and that's what his purpose is serving people. And that, I don't know, it just stuck with me.
Yeah.
And it makes sense, dude. It makes sense because you're
Yeah.
helping people that felt like they couldn't be helped.
Yeah, people that they think they're lost, but they're really not that far behind. They're just trying to get over the hump of whatever fear they have,
Right. And
or
seeing
whatever
that
social
spark,
stigma that they're not used to, or something like that.
just like light the fire for.
Most of the time in their generation, it just has to do with the social stigmas that are going around on social media. That's the biggest issue. If social media didn't exist, I mean, I guarantee more than half the planet would be in way better shape mentally
For sure, yeah.
than what it is now. At least in my generation.
True. Yeah.
Social media has the biggest effect on it.
Mm-hmm.
And you take that out of the picture, like we have the one client, Joe, has no social media.
Mm-hmm.
Seems like the happiest kid ever.
Yeah.
And then
so
we have other people who are like very heavily involved in social media, and it's like you can tell they're way more stressed out.
Yeah. It's
Over
it's
like the
if you let
simplest.
it consume you or not. So you have to
Mhm.
be mindful of how much you let it affect you, and like you can use it as a good tool to obviously promote your business and your brand, and use it in that way rather than letting it identify you and your life.
It's kind of like the new modern day keeping up with the Joneses, right? Like pre-internet, you just compared yourself to your neighbors. That's kind of all you did. Like who had the best car in the neighborhood, whose house looked the best. With social media, now your neighborhood is literally the whole entire world.
Mm-hmm.
So you're comparing yourself to people who, again, don't even relatively have the same like upbringing as you or anything like that, and obviously it's not an even playing field when you compare yourself that way. So yeah, there's a lot more stress because you're comparing yourself to everyone, not just people who relatively live by you.
Yeah, you're taking a big scope and making it even broader compared to like a tiny scope, where if you have two people who the same exact like way they grew up, same nature, same nurture, they're going to be very similar. Now you take someone who's on the other side of the world with a totally different scope, totally different way of living. It's you apples to oranges.
Yep.
And that goes for like when people are in a prep too, or not even in a prep, and they're comparing themselves to other people and how they look on social media. And really, like, oftentimes it's a skewed version of themselves. So it can be
Goob
very
you,
mentally.
goob you, goob.
Yeah.
That's my favorite page.
And
I
yeah,
love that
good thing
shit.
for him, because I feel like a lot of people don't realize how, I guess, photoshopped and fake a lot of things are.
I would say I'd say people just trying to compensate to make themselves feel better.
Yeah, yeah,
It sounds it's obviously super terrible. Like if you have to compensate to, I get it. It's a mental issue. Like it's sad, but that's the generation that is around right now. Is everyone is trying to compare themselves to everyone online.
mhm,
And at the end of the day, like you have to be your own individual. Ross posted something today. No, Goob posted something. Ross reposted. That's how I saw it. And Ross said, "Find your individuality."
yeah.
It was like, what, 8 a.m. this morning, and I saw it, and I was like, he literally talked about it with Justin Mahaly the other day on a podcast as well.
Mhm.
Yeah, you can't copy what everyone else is doing because at the end of the day, you're all gonna fight for the same crumbs, right? And like
Exactly.
that's something that like again like I'll give Ross major props for way too different with the sauces, right? There's a much different approach than you normally would have saw compared to any other sauce company. Or like Walden Farms didn't go this route, neither did G Hughes or anyone else. Especially not only with just saucing, but like even like the cream of rice, right? Or hot cereal. My apologies for all hot cereal.
Yeah,
Um,
Cream of
that one.
rice.
I've still put CORA, not everyone's meal plans. Just so you know.
It's
um,
good.
no, but like obviously it's having the individual approach. Like if you just try to copy what everyone else is doing, you're only gonna get again fighting the same shares that they're already obtaining. So being an individual makes you stick out, and people appreciate individuality.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you have to make people hate you before they like you.
Yeah,
That is
Boy.
literally that is literally what you have to do. You need to make people hate you so that they pay attention to you. Which it sounds terrible, but being an individual is what makes people hate you. People expect you to just stand by the stigma and just follow along with everything that goes on. The moment you stick out like a sore thumb or something like that, people pay attention.
Yeah, I think when people are authentic, also like Mark, you're very authentic and you're just you. You don't sugarcoat anything and you say it like it is and but you're also so kind and you're there for everybody and I think that's what makes MVP stand out compared to other coaches.
no, I appreciate that, Brie, for sure. And this was like, and it goes back to like working with like the high end ticket people I'm working with, because like the people who afforded the program before were like CFOs, CTOs. They were like VP suites of like high end like trading firms. They were not going to be okay with shut the fuck up and eat the food in your plan. Like that was never an option, right? This follow the plan was never an option. It was explaining the why and everything else behind it. And like everyone is motivated differently, right? Some people are more motivated by you being a hard ass with them. Sometimes you have to be more understanding with someone. And like you have to coach everyone slightly differently based on, again, what is their why? If their why is because I need to lose weight so like my wife will be happy with me or I can live longer with my kids, like cool, you can motivate them for possibly being more of a hard ass. But if they're trying to do this because they have some personal self-esteem issues or possibly like maybe their boyfriend cheated on them with someone who was in a different shape than they did and obviously it's their why, well you have to approach things a little differently than saying shut the fuck up and just eat the food, right? Like
And be a
the
little
guy,
softer.
yeah, like the guy who thinks he's gonna be Mr. Olympia, you could literally tell him to eat dog shit and he'll fucking eat it. Because in his
Yep.
mind, just follow the fucking plan is what's gonna work for him.
If it's not if it's on black and white, I'll do it. That's
Exactly.
always been my thing. If it's
Yeah.
black and white on the piece of paper, I'm gonna do it. I'm not gonna question it, and that's it. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. Whatever happens, happens.
Yeah, that's how I've been with
As
my
long as my
plans.
health
Like
markers are still in check, I really don't care.
if it's
Like,
on the plan,
and I make yeah, that's my mindset at least. If it's on the plan, I'm gonna do it.
got you.
But and then I've after with working with some of our clients, like some of them need just a little bit. Like you have to go a little bit softer. But then there's also times where you can where you have to be softer with some clients. But then so there's sometimes you just got to give a little bit of tough love. And honestly, sometimes it has the biggest return because when you're like I wouldn't say soft. I feel like soft is the wrong word.
More
I
empathetic,
wouldn't say
more empathetic.
I would say I'd say empathetic would probably be a better word. And then when you give them the tough love and it just kicks back in.
It's like
And
a
then everything.
respect thing.
Yeah.
It's like, oh,
Like
okay.
you're paying me to tell you what to do.
Yeah.
Like I don't want you to keep messing up.
Right. And
Like
it shows you care too.
yeah.
Right.
You have to be able to play both sides of this because like if
Mm-hmm.
you're hard ass 24/7 to a client, they're gonna think you just like being a dick, right? But if you can also be understanding, and then when the time comes where you have to like put your foot down, like they're understand that okay, like when I messed up before, Mark was understanding and empathetic, and he related to me. He didn't scold me too much, but I keep making mistakes, and obviously this is important to me. So when Mark does put his foot down, I understand it's coming from a place of love, and that's the thing. And this is something that like Sakib talks to me about a lot. Is that like I understand. I guess I realize how to phrase things and put things in a way where people know it's coming from a place of love, not from a place of anger. Because that's the
Yeah.
big difference. Is when people don't know you have good intentions, message received or message sent is not always message received. And that's why I like doing
Voice
voice notes.
messages.
I was just gonna
Yeah.
say it's so important when you use
Yeah.
voice messages because it can get
Because
a lost in
text on a piece on a thing doesn't sound right. And you can put whatever emojis or you can put
Right.
LOL or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's not it's just it's black and white on a screen. Like you don't know how they're gonna interpret it. And but the moment you put voice and distinction behind it and then they can hear your tone, it makes a huge difference. And that's something I picked up off of you.
Yeah, and dude,
Yeah.
one thing I learned before again because like I would send these. Someone would ask me in my other program, like, "Hey, can I eat this?" I'd be like, "No." I'd say no, and like
Yeah.
they would take that as a very like authoritative, like, "No," like that's how they received it. So like I moved forward, being like, "No, you can't actually eat this. Here is why." And like maybe did they need to know all that? Possibly not. But them hearing it that way was not like Mark just being a hard ass. Mark trying to help me, and he even gave me the why behind it. So now I'm not going to ask this question in the future, or if I do, I'll understand Mark's probably going to say no again.
Yeah, the giving reasoning behind the answer.
And I
And
think
there are
that's
some
so
times where
important.
you can't give full reasonings behind things because like I'd say that's more in the training aspect. You can't give a full reasoning because there's no actual like full way to optimally train. We don't know it 100%.
We can
We
just
know what
explain
works.
like, the rationale, right? Like for example, if
Yeah.
someone's ever like, "Hey, why do I have 3 leg days a week?" Well, I'd be like, "Hey, so like your legs are lagging behind everything else, so like we're gonna hit them with more training volume over this current mesocycle, and after that we'll deload, hoping that like obviously your legs catch up." And like as long as you give someone some degree of explanation, not just saying "this fucking do it,"
Yeah.
they're normally okay with it. And again, because
Right.
like everyone's a grown adult. Like no one likes being told exactly what to do sometimes. Like they like being guided in what to do. Again, like
Yes.
there are people who you can say just fucking do it, and they're like, "Yep, yes sir, and fucking do it." But like, there's a very
Brock.
large group of people. Yeah,
Brock and Connor. You can
yeah.
tell them to do whatever and they'll no questions. And
The
I'll say that
southern
100%.
boy thing, man.
I told Brock I wanted 3-second negatives with a 3-second hold in the hole. He's ripping 405 for 12. 3 seconds, 3 seconds, and his
Yeah,
legs show it.
yeah,
And
for
he's holding
sure.
his food down. And he's holding his food down. So that's
Yep.
a good thing. Me on the other hand, I definitely could not hold my food down if I did that. I know I couldn't.
Yeah, I don't
Leg
know.
training, I have a sensitive stomach when it comes to leg training.
So we're not eating month-old yogurt before legs. Got it.
Or
Well,
sushi.
I only have it.
With,
That was not me. That was you.
well, you
I
can't
am
have
totally
salmon
cool.
now.
Yeah, I'm allergic to salmon now. Yeah, it's a little unfortunate. That does explain why I got sick when you brought sushi to the store, Mark.
It does. I made him eat
Yeah,
salmon.
that was the first time I ever ate salmon in my entire life too.
No, you
3
had
weeks
salmon
later, we find
with
out.
sushi.
No, I order tuna
Yeah,
rolls
all tuna
only. That's
Oh
it.
yeah, it was
I
tuna.
All
Oh,
I order is tuna rolls. I'm so like stuck in my ways with it. Seared tuna rolls, green onion, soy paper, and
that's
that's
the
it.
hack. Yep.
Yeah, I don't know. I found it one time and I was like, Mark, can I do that instead of normal tuna rolls? There's no difference. It just, I don't know. It's seared tuna, so it's a little cooked.
Yeah, not gonna hurt you.
So, why haven't many people heard of MVP?
I think the big thing was that I hadn't. So I didn't give it a name for like the longest time. Like my all the years of me coaching, I never called when I did anything. I just
Yeah.
didn't fucking do it. And the reason of doing it. And then with the coaching company I had with Neil, we had it listed as Evolve Air. So that went for 3 years listed as Evolve Air, and at the end of it, we switched it to Evolve Air MVP. Because we had a lot of our lifestyle people kind of start dabbling in contest prep because like this is like the joke I always made to people is like we have people like Patrick Cross who look like he's a few weeks out from a show year round, and
Austin,
yeah, yeah, also another one.
Austin, dude, he looks. I don't understand it. He has the craziest. I wish he would compete.
Yeah,
I wish you could
I think
convince
he's
him to
going this
compete.
year. I think he's going to.
I wish you could convince him. Like,
And I had a couple women out in the Midwest too who was working in Silicon Valley that were the same exact way. Looked like they were a few weeks out from a show. So like, I would in essence be like, "Hey, this is what people look like who compete. This is what you look like. Do you want to prep for like 5 weeks?" And they're like, "All right, sure." And that's what I ended up doing. So like, I was like, "All right, since I guess I'm prepping people again, I have to like separate it from our Gen Pop service because I marked it up a little bit because like." They needed way more than one phone call per week, especially if I'm not physically flying to Colorado or whatever to watch you compete. I'm gonna need like a lot more like FaceTime phone calls with you, especially for someone who's like, again, was never involved in this industry at all. This was like some person who, again, this had the resources to afford coaching, and they got really good results, and they worked really hard because they were perfectionists, and you know what, they ended up doing shows. And I think that the big reason was I never marketed on Instagram because I charged way too much for coaching, that the people in my demographic weren't on Instagram. Because like, I'm telling you, I would not spend $500 a month for coaching. I wouldn't do it. But you know what? Baby boomers have $500 a month for coaching. And since you're getting, again, like a phone call each week, all my marketing was on Facebook and LinkedIn. And I specifically used targeting ads to target people over the age of 35 because that's who has the resources and funds to afford me at the time. So like most people who knew me didn't even know what I was doing for years because they never saw the ads because they're close to me in age or they're younger. That's honestly one of the big reasons why no one knew what I was doing for a long time. And like I post about it, I never post about it ever because I didn't see the reason to because hey, my demographics on Instagram, so why am I gonna post on Instagram?
Mhm.
Yeah, it was January of last year. I remember we were like, yeah, we're gonna start posting stuff on social media. It got a
Mark
little bit better.
actually attempted today. He did attempt.
I
And
did.
it was a great, great caption. And I love it. So we're good.
No, that goes on both ends.
It's
That was
going back up.
everything, but everything we
Music.
set out to everything we said we were gonna do last year, we did.
Yeah.
We said we were just gonna 3x, and we started
Yeah.
with 7 clients, and we 8x'd.
Yeah.
And no, we started with 4 or 5 clients. Technically, the first month was like 5 clients. I think.
Yeah. Under that, yeah.
Yeah.
Mine
And it was
like,
just everything was just word of mouth.
yeah. And that's
Pretty
the
much.
thing, dude.
Yeah.
Is that like
Word of mouth goes a lot farther.
It does.
it does.
And it means
And
more too.
It really does. And the one thing I've noticed about word of mouth clients compared to anything else is that they kind of have an expectation already on how you're going to be like
Mhm.
based on the relationship or the relationship they have with the person who recommended you.
Mhm.
Now, this is the one thing I will say. The one thing about word of mouth clients also that I enjoy a little bit more is, or I guess I enjoy more, is they almost have to be accountable because their friend recommended them.
Mhm.
And they don't want to let their friend down. And like for example, I know anyone who signs up who knows Bree is going to be like, well, like, I can't let Mark down because Mark will tell Bree that I'm fucking failing. And like, and same with Coleman, like anyone who's directly friends with you who signs up, so they're going to be like, well, I can't fucking fuck up because then like it looks bad on Cole.
Yeah, I think my friend and I don't think a lot of my friends would do it because they know I'm a hard ass. I'm especially hard on my friends, and that's just because I care.
Exactly, that's understandable, right?
Like and I'm the same with our clients. Like I can be a hard ass on sometimes, but I do know when I have to like tone it back and be just the guide, not the put my foot down. Like this is what you should be doing. Like let's not do that.
Yeah.
I love it.
All right. Just kick it off. Tell us a funny story.
All right. So like
Funny experience coaching.
the one thing about like coaching lifestyle people is that like lifestyle people you kind of have to walk them through everything. And there's some things like I didn't expect to ever have to explain to someone. And I guess like you don't know until you know what you have to explain. So the one cool thing about having a high-end ticket coaching item was like you got some really fucking cool people that had some really cool fucking jobs. And I got this guy's name was Nitin. Nitin worked for NASA. Nitin didn't only work for NASA, he was the engineer that made the Mars rover and helped guide it to land on fucking Mars. This is what Nitin did for a living. So Nitin was a really smart fucking cookie. Now,
Book smart.
yeah, book smart.
That's where you get it.
But
from a book. He can do math. That being said, Nitin was also first generation Indian American. I didn't know how recently he moved to the US, but I knew it was like kind of fairly recent. So Nitin's first meal every day was 4 whole eggs 80 grams of oatmeal, and like 100 grams of berries. That was his breakfast every day. And in essence, kept doing his stuff, checking week after week. Week 2, he sends me a message. He goes, "Hey Mark, can I cook my oatmeal? Because it keeps cutting the inside of my mouth." And I was so confused when I read this message. And I asked him how was he eating his meal. So he cooked his eggs separately, and he just took his bowl of oatmeal and was eat it with a spoon. He wouldn't add water.
No.
He didn't do anything else. He just was.
It hurts my stomach. I can feel it.
I gotta get one to top this.
I imagine it coming out probably didn't feel much better. I'm just throwing it out there. But since I never said to add water in the meal plan, he never added water to the oatmeal, so he never cooked it. Now, again, you don't know until you know. I never thought in a million years I would ever have to say add water to oatmeal in someone's plan. But I guess you fucking do when someone didn't grow up in the US. Now, Grant, I don't know, like I give him major props for going 2 weeks of eating something.
Yeah, that's impressive.
That was massively uncomfortable. So like he was obviously dedicated to the plan.
Talk about like literally following the plan word for word, black and white.
Oh yeah, I remember my first refeed that Mark gave me. 8 cups of Rice Krispie cereal. Didn't tell me. He told me 2 scoops of protein with it. Didn't tell me I could use water or anything. I knew I could have water with the protein shake, so I drank the protein shake right away, and I just started dry mouthing the Rice Krispies, and it ended up taking me exactly like it was like 2.5 hours exactly. And I remember texting him, and I was like, dude, I don't think I can get all this down. And you're like, why don't you just blend it? And I was like, just sent you a picture of Rice Krispies in a Ziploc bag. And this is like, I think this is before the first show, like not too far before the first show. And I was like, that makes a lot of sense.
So were you doing that for a while? You were just eating. You were.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah. I was doing it for like the whole time I was working with Mark. The whole I never sent a question. I just whatever was told, I just did. I
was like
never
the first thing
questioned
I thought
anything.
of was to just mix it.
Yeah, same. That's why I did it, Bree. That's why I wrote it that way.
I never thought of it. Well, I never thought of it. Just like sauces and like condiments and seasonings, never thought about that at first. It was just not a thing that was like, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna eat my stuff bland and call it a day. Put my salt on it, and that's enough for me. Didn't know I could have I didn't know I could have diet soda for like the longest time. Nothing. I had no idea.
Maybe it was good you didn't know. Builds character.
Nah. Nope. This is totally worth the $2.57 every day.
Every day.
Every day. I did it I calculated it out how much it cost me from the time from Big Cat all the way until it was $99.18. $2.57 every day from Big Cat until Texas. Until you cut diet sodas out. It was $99.18. Not a tax write-off.
Unfortunately, coffee costs a little bit more.
Yeah, well, we pulled. Oh, I remember when Mark had to pull my caffeine.
Oh, do you remember when Mark had to pull my caffeine? I was like the crankiest.
No, I was bad.
I had the worst.
I was like over a gram of caffeine before training when I first started working with Mark. I had no idea about caffeine consumption or anything like that.
Yeah, man.
And then
so much.
I think it was something I posted something on my story the one time. I think I shotgunned a 3D and I put pre-workout in it, and I think you called me and were like, you need to stop. And I was like, what do you mean? I was like, I just did it. I was like, can I still train?
Oh,
yeah, no. That was dumb. That was so dumb.
That's when dark energy. Let's be very clear. That wasn't the plan either. So going back to that, we chose to do that, but we chose not to use condoms.
No, this is this was nowhere near in the plan. Like, never told me like I like pre-workout and stuff like that. Like, it was never like really like I don't know. I never really asked.
Yeah,
I knew I was allowed to take it, I kind of abused it.
Condiments, shotgunning 3D with pre-workout.
Right. It's logic.
Yeah.
It's just simple.
Wait, the logic does well, now I know the logic is very dumb.
It's okay. It's okay.
Logic.
It's okay. Connor, his whole entire prep didn't season his food either. Even though in Connor's plan it says like
I told him to do it.
Yeah, but
He called me on the phone multiple times.
Does he just not like it?
No, he was like, oh, well, I already started this way. I'm not going to change. And I was like, dude, I commend you for it. But as soon as I got to Texas, I made him, I seasoned everything. Yeah. I was like, dude, I'm not eating bland chicken.
Rice. Can we talk about his fucking rice? Okay.
Oh, that is the most disgusting fucking thing I've ever eaten in my entire life.
What are you doing? How do you mess up rice?
Dude, he like cooks it like 5 days in advance and still eats it. So like day 5, rice is literally unedible. It's like fucking like that's how he brought it.
Funny and it's like
he brought it to Texas already 5 days old.
It was 5 days old and it was hard.
Yeah,
it was like literally all the moisture that was in it was gone. Like I remember eating it when I got off the plane, and I was like, well, one, it took him. Oh, this is a good one.
Wait, finish this one though. I know you're saying. Finish this one.
This grinded my gears so bad.
But finish the okay. Sorry,
Connor had to pick me up from the airport. Oh, this is a good one. It just reminded me. Connor had to pick me up from the airport. Mark, you know this.
I know.
I had gotten my bag like literally within like 5 minutes getting off the plane. I was like purposely sat in the back of the plane and everything. That I was like, I'll give him some extra time, like whatever. And like got my stuff, and he's like, dude, I need your flight information so I can get into the thing. I was like, no, dude, you just press the button, you get a little ticket, and like you just drive up. It's not that hard. He's like, nah, dude, I need your ticket. And I was like, dude, my plane ticket's not gonna get you through a security gate, especially in a car. Yeah. There's a little red button. He like showed me the screen. I was like, dude, press the red button for a ticket. It says press for ticket. He's like, nah, dude. Like argued with me for like an hour and a half. And I was like, Connor, it's been an hour and a half. Just press the fucking button. Hour and a half later, picks me up from the airport. But I had to walk like a mile because he couldn't figure out how to get to there.
The lesson is that we never rely on Connor to pick anyone up from the airport ever again.
Or drive.
Finish.
It gets worse. It gets worse, Mark. So you know how you were like, you know how we took the check-in? I sent you my check-in at like 11:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
Like that was like right after he picked me up, like after like the hour and a half and stuff like that. We went, took my check-in. You're like, yeah, you're a little watery. We need to get you in a sauna. And I was like, okay, not a problem. I was like, we're going to start driving down. It was like a 2-hour drive. So we already started driving. We started driving, and I was like, we're going to stop, pick up some groceries, whatever. Did that. Kept driving. And then Connor's like, he's like, I kind of got to piss. And I was like, okay. It's going like 80. Literally just goes like this. I'm sleeping. I was dead asleep. Hits the curb. Gallon, ceiling, me. Dude, I got out of the car, didn't say a word to him. Got out, I was completely drenched. I didn't drop a single thing of water. Like, I had already drinking like a gallon of water. I just walked into this like trucker station, just walked in there, started walking around the store completely soaking wet, like just trying to cool myself off, like nothing. Then I walk into the bathroom, I walk back out. Connor cleaned the car completely, and he goes, so how much water do you think I lost? I literally turned around, walked right back into the store, and I was like, are you fucking kidding me? I was like, of all things, you go, how much water did I lose? And I go, I walked back out, and I was like, I'm so pissed off at you.
So is it safe to say that we don't know actually how much water was consumed that Thursday?
No, I know. I made him drink
now.
What?
You're just I made him drink now.
No, I made him drink an extra bottle of water.
No, Mark didn't know about this.
No.
Oh yeah. Well, why am I going to tell Mark if I can handle the situation on my own right there? I just needed to cool myself off first. Well, besides already being cooled off by the water, but I had to like go in, collect my thoughts. And
Before
his
Connor
first
got
thing was like,
whacked.
Just to be so, hold on. Did he just?
no. So the gallon of, so here's Connor driving like this, gallon of water right here, tapped.
Yes.
It's a capped gallon,
No,
but he was
did you
drinking
say
out of
he
it.
said he
Like
had
that.
to pee and he's opened the door to peeing out the door? Is that what you said?
No. He's like, we're gonna pull over to a gas station to pee. Like we had both already had 2 gallons of water in us.
Oh, I thought.
And I was like,
so.
no, we were like probably like 45 minutes from like the Airbnb at this point. Like, and I was
I
like,
thought
okay, whatever.
that he was trying to pee with the door open. That's what I got out of this.
No. So the gallon of water's right here.
That's what I got.
No. So he's like, oh, there's a gas station right there. And it's like literally like, and he's going like 80. And I was like, dude, you're not gonna hit the exit. And you just hear you poof. And just the gallon just all over me. And I was like, I was so pissed. I was like, just the whole, and his first thing was, so how much water do you think I lost?
I think that's the funniest.
And I was like, dude, you're not gonna apologize for being a fucking idiot.
No, he's not.
Like you literally could have taken like 2 seconds longer and just taken the next exit, and it would have been fine. But no, just drills the curb. Like
I can't wait to meet Connor.
he remembers it because he texted Josiah, because I had posing with Josiah like 30 minutes later, and he texted Josiah. He goes, Coleman's a little sensitive today. And I was like, okay. I was like, reasonably so. Like, you just dumped water all over me.
So,
and we're late to picking me up.
So we're not letting him drive anyone's car when he's up here, just so you know. Just throwing it out there.
Oh no, hell no. No, I will drive him wherever he has to go.
Okay.
I think it's a safer option.
I agree.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you don't know about the tanning. Driving to tanning? That was interesting. Wait, did I tell you about like when we were driving back from tanning the morning of, and we're driving and we had to go like through this like little sketchy area, and Connor puts in the GPS to go to Walmart to pick up muffins because he told us we had to pick up muffins. He put it for the wrong town. Didn't even check it. He's like 15 minutes away. We're like 15 minutes away from the thing. No, start driving like 15 minutes the wrong way. And I was like, dude, where are we? Like, we're not in the right area. So he's like, all right, we got to turn around. We fix the GPS. We start heading back towards the Airbnb. And then we have to go down this like weird, sketchy thing. But he's driving normal. And then all of a sudden, there's just a dip, like just straight down. He's going like 30. I'm on the phone with my mom. And all you see is Connor's just going. And then all of a sudden, it just hit a bump and it's just like straight down. You can't even see the road below us. And I was just like, holy shit, dude, you just literally almost killed us. Like, literally.
Is he very clear? Trucks are not made to go airborne, especially like.
No.
He has some big ass. What does he have?
I feel like Connor drives a monster truck.
He does,
right? Like, and you have to pull out the step stool to get on.
It's almost like that. It's like
very
a
similar.
super diesel fucking lifted. It's not lifted.
It was, but I mean, like literally, like I was on the phone and like just had to act like nothing happened, and I was like, because I know the moment I say something to my mom would have flipped, and like I just like my first instinct was just like, I'm just gonna put my arm across, like Connor's not gonna get hurt, like I'm gonna make sure my client's fine. I have no seatbelt on, so I'm like this. And like you can't even see the road, and then he's just like, "Wow, that was really close." And I was like, "Yeah, we should probably pay attention to the road, buddy." And then we went and met the muffin lady who gave us free stuff.
The muffin lady.
Yeah, dude, her husband was from Edison, just by chance.
So, moral of the story: put water in your cream of rice and your oats, and don't let Connor drive.
Yep, that's it.
Yeah, Connor's not the best driver.
Sorry, Connor.
It was funny. I mean, it did give some comedic times.
Love it.
Right. So then we can.
Or forget. Oh, and then me forgetting my last meal that night.
Yeah.
Yeah. I literally hung up the phone with you, put my food in the microwave, sat on the couch waiting for it to just finish heating up. 3 hours later, the microwave was still going off, and you walked in the door.
Yeah. Now, when I came at the Airbnb, like at
That's
2 or 3 in the morning, whatever time it was, I hear the microwave beeping still, and only I thought I was like, this person never, like Coleman never ate his last meal. There's no way, because what else is in the microwave? It's not like Coleman's microwaving fucking tea because he's 80 years old or anything. And it was Coleman's last meal on that Thursday.
That's the first time I ever missed a meal, and ever.
I love it.
Fun
All right.
times.
I'm gonna wrap it up.
Sure. Well, hey, I have to thank all you guys for obviously listening to us today. I also have to thank Coleman and Bree for setting this up, because I am such a lazy fuck that I would not have done this on my own. Obviously, if you have any interest in working with us at MVP, please click on the link in either Coleman's bio or mine, and we'll be able to help you out with an intake form for you to fill out, and we can get back to you based on the contact info that you leave. But until next time, guys, I hope you all take care.